last year, in 2018, there were over 400,000 automobiles sold in the Philippines. Now that's counting both commercial and passenger vehicles. Over an eighth of that number were pickup trucks. That's a pretty sizable number, and really it's easy to understand why. You've got calamities, road conditions, exemptions from excise tax, and of course, the rising cost of fuel. Now, while lifestyle and utility may top the list of considerations when buying a pickup truck, which we'll definitely explore here today, there's also no denying that these suckers look badass. So we've rounded up a handful for a bit of fun and to see which one comes out on top. Now, as your pupils have no doubt started to dilate paired with violent reactions, allow me to respond. Yes, there are a few missing horses from the stable to no fault of our own. It's a very busy time and we do thank the guests that did make it to our little shindig. Shall we? To be honest, only idiots like us would do this in the middle of a storm without an umbrella. Storm! Speaking of which, first on the block, the Colorado. You got a split grille and a line down the center. Mostly purpose-driven lines up on the front, halogen headlamps and fog lamps, cuts on the sides where it counts, power folding mirrors with repeaters, good clearances above the wheel wells make for a tall stance. 18s with 60 series tires, 220 millimeters of ground clearance, some black scratch magnet accessories at the back, but they do look good, and taillights that resemble bubble wrap. Now, there's no argument here why the Ranger is called beefy. Wide and muscular, the front grille peaks up as if to keep its head above water. HID projectors, LED DRLs, and fog lamps, protuberances on its side that affirm the two previous adjectives, power folding side mirrors, step boards, 18-inch wheels with 60 series tires, 232 millimeters of ground clearance, black panels, and cinder block-looking rear lamps. It's worked for Mitsubishi so far. Quite apparent is the futuristic dynamic shield design. Headlamps are LED projectors with DRLs, fog lamps are halogen, very tall arcs of flat panels above the wheels, repeaters on the side mirrors, step boards, 18s with 60 series tires, 220 millimeters of ground clearance, tubular bed bars, J-shaped rear that is indigenous to the Strada, standard tail lamp design, and a rear that is nowhere near as exciting as the front clip. The tamest looking one with a front clip that's more SUV, the Musso gives off more of an elegant vibe than more of a rugged one. Broad X in the center, LED DRLs, HID projectors, halogen fog lamps, power folding mirrors with repeaters on a rather flat and broad side, very large windows, body lines are away from the low wheel wells, 17s with 70 series tires, 215 millimeters of ground clearance, a 12-volt socket in the rear bed, and a rear with very docile lamps, hoping to prove that square does work on pickups. Now, outselling them all is the Hilux with a tried and tested look of a workhorse. With a front clip that is similar to its larger siblings, flares underneath the headlamps and DRLs which are LED, the fog lamps too, repeaters on power folding mirrors, flares above the tall wheel wells, a step board, 18s on 65 series tires, bed bars that could tangle with Ferdinand the Bull, and a handsome rear without really trying. Oh, and a bonus too for the lamps found on the bed bars and on the tailgate. Oh, and just because we can, night shot! So we're taking everything into consideration. We've got stance, build quality, proportion, really its overall look. So 4 points will go to the classic looking Ranger because it has stood the test of time. For the future design, which is the Strada, that guy we're gonna give 5 big points. Up first, the Colorado, a 2.8-liter 6-speed automatic that's got 200 horses and 500 Nm of torque. Now on the highway, it was able to do 14.7 kilometers to the liter. Now up next, you've got the Ranger, which has got a 10-speed automatic transmission mated to a 2-liter bi-turbo. Now this thing pushes out 210 horses and 500 Nm of torque, but on the highway, even with its legs, it's only able to produce 15.3 kilometers to the liter. Now the Strada's got a 2.4-liter mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission, but it only produces 179 horses and 430 Nm of torque. But on the highway, surprisingly, this thing can push up to 17.9 kilometers per liter. The Koreans gave the Grand Musso a 2.2-liter 6-speed automatic transmission that produces 179 horses, same as that guy, but only 420 Nm of torque. Get this, on the highway, however, it only produces 13.9 kilometers per liter. Now the vastly popular Hilux has got a 2.8-liter engine mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. However, it only produces 174 horses and 450 Nm of torque. Surprisingly though, on the highway, it gets up to 17.2 kilometers per liter. So taking all things into consideration, engine size, fuel consumption figures, crunching them all together and choking a few editors along the way, we figured we'd give the Hilux a total 4 out of 5 and the Strada a big 5 out of 5. The seats all around the Hilux are firm and supportive. There's a decent amount of space for those in the back seat, but there isn't a lot of fun for them because there are no air vents, no charging points, and there are only 2 cup holders on the center armrest. The 2 seats up front are not that much fun either because, well, it's not leather clad and there are no power seats, unlike its rivals. You face front and you'll notice that the dashboard is actually pretty darn high. It is not because I am a shrimp, no. It's just very high and the windshield is quite small. Up front here, you've got your tachometer, speedometer, you've got your trip computer in the center, buttons on the steering wheel, your air, and your nav here in your touchscreen infotainment system. It's got a lot going on in the dash No, I meant really, including the piano black plastics that you find here. Quite bulbous, yes, it looks like it's got a lot going on, but the one thing that it is missing, oddly enough, is a reverse camera. And in a rig of this size, yeah, that should be standard. Good quality leather can be found all around the cabin of the Colorado, including the rear seats, which are quite on the firm side. Not many toys back there, just a center armrest, no cup holders, and a 12-volt socket. Not much bolstering either back there, so getting in and out of the car might be easy, but when it comes to the bumpier stuff, yeah, you might be thrown up against each other. Now, while the passenger side doesn't have power, the driver's side does. It's a nice save because everything else around here is actually quite simple. And the touch is really nothing great. It's more durable than luxurious, really. You've got very simple gauge cluster here. You've got very simple entertainment here. You've got a very simple steering wheel. So really not much is going on. It's simply point A to point B kind of a thing. The consuelo, though, is that there are a lot of spaces where you can put a lot of stuff in, including a brush. So that's a plus. Contrast stitching can be found all around the Ranger, including the rear seats. Those guys are equipped with a center armrest that has 2 cup holders, bottle holders on either door, a 12-volt socket, and a plug. Up front, the Ranger has the most number of screens of all the pickups around here today. It's got a touchscreen infotainment system here and 2 more screens that flank an analog speedometer. It's got a myriad of buttons on the steering wheel and a nice air control here in the center. One thing that gets me though is the steering wheel has 2 separate things here that make it look like Madonna's teeth. The leather all around the Strada is really the best of both worlds. It's plush and durable at the same time. In the back seat, you've got toys that include bottle holders on either door, cup holders on a center armrest that is so cute, it looks like a nubbin, 2 charging points that can be found in the center, and the most elaborate set of air vents I've ever seen in my entire life. The front seats of the Strada look and feel like they have the most bolsters from all the other pickup trucks available here today. Now, when you're sitting and you face front, you are met with a plethora of buttons found all over the steering wheel and for the air. Now, while there are plastics and they're not the highest quality inside the cabin, what's nice though is the contrast of colors do really well for the dash. 2-tone leather and ventilated seats can be found all over the cabin of the Musso. Now in the back seat, you've got a center armrest with 2 cup holders, 2 large bottle holders on the door, large windows even for the back, and large air vents also for the rear passengers. Now when you get up front of the Musso, it's like, where do we even begin? Look at it. Look, 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 look. Check that out. It's gorgeous. So it obviously goes without saying that the Musso takes the cake and brings home 5 points for interior plushness, while the Ranger takes home 4. With all the tech it comes with, the Ranger takes top spot with 5 points and the Colorado bags second with 4 points. To see the full list of tech toys and safety features, click the link above or in the description below. The Hilux feels very torquey really, like it wants to jump into action immediately. Wow. The steering has good weight and feels good. The suspension is, well, you know what, that's the odd thing. The suspension actually feels a little bit better than its SUV counterpart, the Fortuner, which is very bizarre. Now, even if it is still a little bumpy, you will be forgiving to it, obviously, because, well, it's still a pickup truck. Transmission, sure, not really a problem. Shifts quick, seamlessly, not super quick, obviously, because it's not a supercar. Other than that, NVH is really bog standard, so meaning you really won't be disappointed in the Hilux at all. Now, the ride in the Colorado is a little bit on the bouncy side, even for a pickup truck, and having the stiffest seats among the bunch really doesn't help at all. The brakes too, just like the seats, are a little on the stiff side, but at the very least, the steering is actually very light, which makes maneuvering in tight situations a breeze. Now, on the subject of NVH, yeah, well, the rattles will penetrate the cabin and your eardrums. And the engine noise, yeah, that will compete with Vincent's snoring at night. On that note, though, of the engine note, there is a truckload, pun intended, of torque readily available on tap, and you can push it out anytime you want. The transmission is really average. It's as vanilla as the exterior color of this car, just white. Here on the Musso, the steering is actually on the heavier side of the spectrum, while the accelerator is on the lighter side of the spectrum. It's actually very nice to push. Power delivery is pretty quick, and you know what? The car feels like it's the missing link between the ruggedness of a pickup and the refinement of a crossover. Yeah. Ho ho. Now, the power in the Musso is unlike the rivals. It doesn't surge you forward. Rather, it nudges you very, very softly. Like the interior, it's really a gentleman's pick. NVH is absolutely superb. It's like when my wife asks me to do something. All I hear is, suspension is actually pretty good, considering that the tires on this guy are the thickest of the whole bunch, so really there's no surprise there. Steering is absolutely light inside the Ford. Heck, even my 5-year-old daughter could drive this car if she wanted to. Well, if she could reach the pedals, of course. Power is smooth thanks to the 2 turbos inside the engine bay that are spooling away, which means the delivery and the acceleration is also very smooth. Now, here's the thing. Even though that it has the smallest displacement engine, guess what? It has the highest horsepower output. Nice. Now, I gotta be honest with you. I had thought that over the 30 kilometers that we did on an economy run, we would have better figures on this thing since it has a 10-speed automatic transmission. But no, it did. It was beat out actually by the other rivals in the same category. So maybe had we doubled that or tripled that, it wouldn't have been as thirsty. The entire cabin feels very dense, and not in a bad way, in a good way, because the NVH in this thing is really top-notch. The Strada does drive well enough. It's got a weighted steering, and it's got a pretty responsive accelerator and brake pedal. The engine is sprightly and will respond with the transmission in tow. Speaking of which, that 6-speed automatic, yeah, it's not lightning quick, but the paddles right here, the metal paddles, yeah, they make you forget that you're actually in a pickup truck, and they do a good job at it. Although that illusion will quickly fade once you go over a few bumps because it is quite bumpy. NVH is acceptable, but it does rattle here and there. Not enough to ruin the entire package, but it is, and it will be cause for consideration. Thanks to its smooth operation and refined nature, the Musso takes 4 points, only being beat out by the Ranger, who has all of that plus featherweight steering, great NVH insulation, and the most powerful engine of the bunch. The Colorado's payload is 1,000 kilograms, and the bed measures 57 inches long, 59 inches wide, and 22 inches deep. Now the payload of the Ranger is 1,121 kilograms, and the bed measures 56 inches long, 62 inches wide, and 22 inches deep. The smallest capacity payload is on the Strada with 945 kilos, and the bed measures 56 inches long, 66.5 inches wide, and 19 inches deep. Now, at 1,025 kilograms of payload, it is not the strongest, but the Musso does have the widest, the longest, and the deepest bed there is, measuring in at 65 inches long, 63 inches wide, and 23.5 inches deep. Last but not the least, the Hilux comes in with a 1,000 kilogram payload, and its bed measures 58 inches long, 59 inches wide, and 19 inches deep. So bed and payload, we're gonna give the top 2 spots to the Ranger and the Musso. Now the Ranger can carry more at 1,121 kilos, but the Musso is wider, longer, and deeper. And we figure volume outweighs weight. Does that even make sense? Yeah, it makes sense. By the way, this being the Christmas season and all, it got me thinking, what if Santa's sleigh were to break down? He still needs a ride, right? And which one would he take? Which one could carry the most gifts? Which one could carry the most gifts the fastest? Idea.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, go, go!
King of the hill! What? So let's talk about value for money. The Chevy Colorado High Country Storm is available at 1,638,888 Philippine pesos. The Ford Ranger Wildtrak 2.0 bi-turbo is available at 1,695,000 Philippine pesos. Now the Mitsubishi Strada GT is available at 1,670,000 Philippine pesos. The SsangYong Musso Grand is available at 1,650,000 Philippine pesos. And finally, the Toyota Hilux Conquest without the TRD body kit is available at 1,792,000 Philippine pesos. So, which pickup has got the best bang for your buck? Now, we were gonna give the 5 points to the Colorado because after all, it is the most affordable, but we're gonna stick it with just 4. 5 will go to the Ranger because, well, for 60,000 pesos more, you get boatloads more of stuff inside, like adaptive cruise for one. So the question is, who's the big winner? Who's got the most number of points? It doesn't matter because everybody wins! Yay! Group hug! No, we wouldn't do that to you. Picking up 30 points and besting our first ever pickup truck comparo here on AutoDeal is the Ford Ranger Wildtrak 2.0 bi-turbo. You sure?
Yeah.
Thanks for everything. Ingat. Vincent, wait. You can't take that. That's office equipment. Ay! Huy! Okay, that's unexpected.